if a guy is the favorite, 90% of the crowd's with him. If he gets his ass whooped and it's that clear, and he gets a decision, most of the time the crowd will be honest and let their feelings be known. So yeah, but I want to address this. But this is my next speaking point. This is my next speaking point in regards to Tank, right? Because I feel like every time a big fighter, whether it be Canelo or like Andrade or just any fighter that's lost over the years, now with Tank, Anthony Joshua. Whenever a fighter loses a fight, I hate when dick riding ass fans of other fighters act like their fighter got in the ring and beat him themselves. So, for example, I've been seeing all over social media a lot of the Shakur Stevenson fans saying that, like, oh, well, this just proves that Shakur Stevenson would have beat Tank. And I hate to break it to you, but just because Lamont Roach stood in the pocket and Lamont Roach showed pound for pound skills and Lamont Roach hurt Tank doesn't mean Shakur Stevenson would. I'll tell you like this right now, straight up. I still don't think Shakur Stevenson would beat Tank, even with him, even with Tank getting his ass up by Lamont Roach. I don't think that Shakur Stevenson would beat Tank because Shakur Stevenson don't fight nothing like Lamont Roach. Nothing. I mean, first and foremost, Lamont Roach's style. If you've watched Lamont Roach and you followed him throughout the duration of his career, which I have, I even covered his fight against Rene Alvarado in 2021 on the undercard of Gilberto Soto Ramirez and Yuniesky Gonzalez, and asked him a question, which I didn't even realize I asked Lamont a question in 2021 at the press conference. I just seen that today, and I dropped it on my shorts. So that was pretty cool and pretty crazy to see. But like Lamont Roach has always been a front foot dominant fighter, a fighter that makes his living in the pocket, counter punching, going to the body, right there in the pocket. That's who he is. That is not who Shakur Stevenson is. Now, can Shakur Stevenson fight in the pocket? Yes. He's shown that ability at times against guys who couldn't hurt him. But for the most part, Shakur Stevenson is a mid-range, long-range fighter who likes to, use his legs, take those little half steps back, make you fall short. And that's how he gets his work done. That's Shakur Stevenson. That's who he's always been. And that's who I'm sure he'll still be. Gervonta Davis is a low-volume fighter, like as far as his punch output. Shakur Stevenson is a low punch fighter. So that fight would be a chess match. That would be a fight where Gervonta Davis would try to counterpunch Shakur Stevenson, and Shakur Stevenson would try to wait out Tank the same way Lamont Roach did. But it would look different. You're not going to get as many of the same exchanges you got in the Lamont Roach fight because it is not within Shakur Stevenson's skill set and mental makeup to fight that way. So even though Lamont Roach put belt to ass on Tank, even though Lamont Roach did great against Tank, and even though the majority of the boxing world thinks Lamont Roach can beat Tank, doesn't mean Shakur Stevenson will. And I'm tired of fans acting like just because another fighter looked good or beat the fighter that they're a fan of is rivals with, that somehow gives their fighter some sort of credit. No, you got to hop your ass up in the ring and you got to go beat them. You got to go show them you can do that. And Shakur Stevenson has not done that yet. So if they fight, I'm still favoring Tank over Shakur. As crazy as that sounds right now because of how pedestrian Tank looked. What do y'all think? Shout out to everybody in the comments. My man Raw Dog says Tank is overrated. Yeah. Shakur probably does outbox Tank PT. Maybe he would. But my thing is, like, it would be a different type of a fight, and I'm not so sure that he would outbox Tank. I'm not. Like he's not gonna sit in the pocket with Tank, right? And he's gonna get hit. Like at some point, he's gonna get hit, and I'm still very. That fight, like Tank looking how he looked against Lamont Roach, actually makes me more intrigued about the Shakur Stevenson fight if they do decide to fight. Rico Ransom says, fact, Shakur hasn't been looking the best either. I hate when boxing fans do that. I hate it. I hate it too. Like I hate it. I hate it I just hate it in general. I hate it for all fighters because like you can't do math in boxing, right? Because look, one of the main talking points that a lot of people used for this fight heading in was, oh, well, Lamont Roach lost to Jamel Herring, so that just means he's going to lose to Tank. And then, boom, what happened? That didn't happen. The funny thing is, Jamel Herring is crazy. It's crazy that I'm about to say this, but y'all listen real good. Jamel Herring did what Tank could not do. Yeah, Jamel Herring. Yeah, the military. Semper Fi. Jamel Herring did what Gervonta Davis could not do, and he conclusively beat Lamont Roach. So put some respect on Jamel Herring's name. Stop disrespecting fighters. It's like there's so many examples of boxing math that I could use that works out like that. Like Teofimo Lopez lost to George Kambosos, right? But Lomachenko lost to Teofimo Lopez. But Lomachenko stopped George Kambosos. So triangle theories do not work. Let this be a learning example to boxing fans that triangle theories in boxing do not work. Right? Like any fighter can get their ass whooped. Just because you lost to a fighter who you think is less than the fighter you're dick riding does not mean that they can't get their ass whooped, you know? So I'll leave it at that. Let me see. He says, sorry, BT, but Roach just look at Trayford gone wrong where Tank was off. Roach looked so terrible against Herring. I don't think he looked that bad against Herring. I think he was 24 years old. He was a younger fighter at that time. That was 2019, right? So we're in 2025. He's 30 years old now, so he matured. Like I always tell you guys, fighters can progress and fighters can regress. He's a much better fighter than he was back then. And if you go back and you watch that fight, you know, he had a lot of success in the second half of that fight. He just needed to pick up the pace and step it on the gas a little earlier. And truth be told, you know, Lamont Roach, he fought Jamel Herring when Jamel Herring was at his best and the most confident. You know, like Top Rank didn't match Shakur Stevenson up with Jamel Herring until fights at like what a couple fights after Lamont Roach. Jamel Herring was really never the same after Lamont Roach, to be honest with you. Canelo, Mayweather, and Pacquiao all use catch weights. Interesting how many asterisks modern successful fighters have on their CV. Every fighter's done it. Miguel Cotto did it as well. Every fighter's done it, you know? That's why I'm saying, like, there's a saying in boxing circles. They say that a fighter is only as good as his team, right? Because the fighter's job is to train their ass off and get into the best shape possible, physically, mentally, and spiritually speaking, so that they can perform on the night. This is why you have managers. This is why you have, you know, advisors, people behind you that have your best interests that will negotiate and go to war and win those wars. Because a lot of times in boxing, especially big time boxing, the wars are won. The first wars of boxing are won in the negotiating room at the negotiating table. So a fighter is only as good as his team, and you need to have a team that looks out for your best interest and looks at you as a top tier upper echelon fighter. You can't just have a team that concedes to every little demand. They gotta have some pushback. They gotta get some resistance, and they gotta negotiate with whoever it is and get the best scenario for their fighter. You know, so a fighter is only as good as a team. Herring pieced up Roach, and Herring was pretty mediocre even at his peak. He even had a knockdown which is uncounted for against Roach. I mean, look, he was a decent fighter. I'm not gonna hate on Jamel Herring. Jamel Herring actually I respect him a lot because, you know, he was a PBC fighter, got his ass waxed by Denis Shafikov, and then turned his career around, and became world champion. So I respect fighters that lose fights and can come back and become champion and defend it a couple times, and that's what he did. So I'm not gonna do that. All I'm saying is that Lamont Roach was 24 years old, and the average male brain doesn't even fully develop till the age of 25. So you can't hold losses against fighters early in their career. I don't feel like you should, especially like if they lost at 24 and then the next big fight is like at 30 years old. Like, let me ask y'all a question. Are you the same person you were 6 years ago? Because I know I sure as hell ain't the same person 6 years ago. Not even close. So if Tank is overrated, then move the goalpost for Roach to 140. If Tank is overrated, why would Roach has to go to 140 now? What do you mean to 140? Now you're gonna shit on Tank because he was supposed to shit on Roach. It's like shit on Roach overall. I'm not shitting on Tank. I like Tank. I'm just saying Tank has a lot to prove. That's all I'm saying. Tank has a lot to prove, and I'm not gonna ignore what these four eyes saw on fight night. You know, like this prescription, thankfully, still works. Lamont Roach put belt to ass on Tank and beat him. Let's see. Shout out to Hyro with the first comment of the live from him. He says Lamont Roach never unified with Miguel Bachote. We know the matchmaking at Top Rank is superb. Lamont Roach was never a champion at 130 at the same time as Bachote. What are you talking about? You mean Herring? Come on. JW says, shout out to Roach. Him shaking up 135 is awesome. Yes, it is awesome. This is why I love boxing, because we're over here, and we're talking about Shakur. I'm bitching and moaning with Sean to telling the lies about Tank not fighting Shakur and this, that, and the third, and then boom, Lamont Roach shakes up the whole division, and now he's a player. So ain't that great? Ain't that beautiful? BT, pull up to NYC for the press conference today. We need the content. I'm not going to that shit. I'm not going to New York for that. But I'll watch it. I'll watch it and I'll see what's said. You know, but I'm not going to that. But I will be there. I'll be there for the fight because it's gonna be free. It's gonna be right there on Times Square. So I'll be out there. So if any of y'all wind up going to New York in May for the fights, I'll be there. Another PBC fighter fighting a non-PBC guy and having a tough fight. I hear you. MEZBX, and I definitely understand your point, but it's not even about PBC in this scenario. It's the fact that, Lamont Roach is a pro box fighter. Yeah, shout out to pro box. Because pro box, listen, pro box has done such a great job. Pro box has been around for 3 years now. They made such a big impact in boxing in these last 3 years. Pro box has fostered a great culture of, 50-50 fights, the best fighting the best, tough fights, live competition. And every time one of these pro box fighters goes onto a promotion, like another promotion in a big environment, they always come to fight and they always do well. Lamont Roach versus Tank, Angelo Lea versus Bernardo Lopez, Trevor McCummey versus Caleb Plant, and the list goes on and on and on. The pro box fighters that continue to fight these guys from the big promotional companies, the top promotional companies, and either beat their ass or give them hell in a loss. So